Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Golden Ratio Podcast. I am Jen, GR Mom, joined as always by GR Dad.
Hi.
How's it going, GR Dad?
Pretty good.
Excellent, excellent. The cocktail of the week this week is the daiquiri, like the classic-ass daiquiri.
Like the Hemingway daiquiri or
No.
the classic daiquiri?
Classic
Interesting. So it's
rum,
more sweeter.
lime, and sugar.
Yes, the Hemingway daiquiri is the
It's like grapefruit and rum and
diabetic
maraschino.
version.
It's not, though. Don't drink it if you're diabetic. It was bad for you.
But it's not as bad as the other one?
I think it's pretty much equally as bad. It's just like it. All right. So the Hemingway daiquiri. Hemingway was diabetic, apparently, or at least thought he was. And he, I don't know if he was or not, but he was like, so I'm going to keep drinking, but I'll make a daiquiri that they don't put sugar in. And so it's like rum and grapefruit juice and maraschino liqueur, which doesn't taste like cherries. It tastes like crap. And it's so, I don't know. It needs a lot of sugar and it doesn't have it, but it's still not good for you if you have diabetes to be drinking a bunch of cocktails. No, that's bad. It's like those bros who are like, I'm biohacking. Like, I don't eat anything, green after 6 and like chicken.
What is it? Green after 6? Yeah, that is bad. Definitely bad.
Like, if you eat chicken, you can't gain weight.
That's right. They just make stuff like
said that.
He said that?
Yeah. Like, you can eat as much chicken as you want. You won't gain weight if you only eat chicken.
I got Kentucky Fried Chicken would like a word with this guy.
He just made it up, much like Hemingway made up this daiquiri that he was allowed to drink because the dude was kind of an alcoholic. Anyway.
It was more art than science.
He was a good writer. The regular daiquiri is lime juice and sugar and rum, and it's delicious. And we just had one in Cuba yesterday.
As one does.
Hopped on over to Havana for the day.
We were in old Havana.
Drank cocktails.
Yep.
It was a good time. We left at. I was so tired. It wasn't even that early. But
We did. We had to get up and feed the dogs and stuff, so
I think
it
we
was
got up
early.
In the 5s, which is real early for us, especially for me.
It's like race day wake up.
Oh.
When we don't race anymore, or I don't race anymore.
So we had to be to the airport at 7:15.
Whoa.
We flew the 90 miles from Key West to Havana in a teeny tiny plane that sit 6 people, including the pilot and co-pilot, but there was not a co-pilot. There was just a pilot, so if he died, I was going to have to fly the plane, which I feel like I could have done because it was so similar to the plane that we took our flying lessons.
It really
in.
was. It had you had to pull the choke out. You had to push the start button for the engines.
Yeah.
It was 2 engines. That is different. That is different.
Yeah. I don't know it had retractable landing gear, though. I think
it did not.
Yeah.
That wheel was out there the whole time.
I could have landed that. I could have turned that around and put it down in an emergency.
Wow, you have the confidence of a mediocre white man. That's pretty good.
Hey, I have a solid 12 hours of flight experience.
I fully mean that's pretty good confidence.
I'm just saying, if the option was crashing into the ocean or me landing the plane, I think there's a solid chance that we would have survived.
Yes, except that it was water.
I mean, yes, if we could have gotten it back to the airport and I had to land it, it might have been bumpy. I'm not sure the plane would have been in great shape, but I think I would have put it down.
I've also flown enough commercial flights that I just find it odd when there's just one dude flying with no backup.
Yeah, well, that's what it was.
There's 2 seats up there and just one guy.
I meant to ask if I could fly in the co-pilot seat on the way back.
He would have let you.
He would have let me, but I was so tired at that point.
Yeah, if you're just going to sleep, he's not going to let you up there.
I did sleep.
Your head will slump on something and descend 2,000 feet.
So we took this tiny little propeller plane that fit me and Ingo, the pilot, and 2 other guys.
That was the entire tour, was the 6 of us. The 4 of us,
The 4 of us. Yeah, the pilot didn't come. And we landed at Jose Marti International Airport.
Little plane on a
Havana.
giant runway. Yeah.
There was Southwest and American both had planes there.
Yeah, we just took up 25% of the runway. We were just like, doop.
We just parked and
like a little mosquito.
Yeah. They came and walked us out and we went on a little tour, day trip.
Yeah, it was a good way to get a glimpse and some superficial impressions of Havana.
Yeah, and we saw a whole bunch. We went to the Hemingway's house there.
He's a big deal there.
He sure is, and drove around and kind of saw some of Havana, and then we went into Old Town Havana, which is kind of the UNESCO heritage site, more touristy part, and walked around and saw some old stuff, which is what you do when you're on a tour like this.
Yeah, I was thinking about this at some point during the tour, that this is like the kind of tour that generally this format, very classic, that you hate, where
Yes.
it's like a group being led around sort of like sheep by a tour guide the entire day. There's no independent, downtime. There's no independent activities. We all had lunch together at a restaurant that he picked, and but with only four of us and this guy and us not knowing anything about Havana, it was actually really nice.
It was, and also, there's a lot of rules about where we were allowed to spend money and not. I mean, Havana, the people in Cuba would have taken our money anywhere, but the American rules were very restrictive, and it was interesting. We were halfway through the day, and we're walking around Old Town Havana, and there's a lot of these old buildings that have been houses or churches that have been turned into museums, and we would walk up to them, and we would look in them, and we'd sometimes be allowed to walk into the courtyard and look around it, but then we'd leave. We didn't go into any museums. Not that we had a lot of time, but I figured out halfway through the day, it's because they're all owned by the state, and we're not allowed to spend any money in anything that's state run.
Oh, it violates the American embargo that we would be giving money directly to the Cuban government.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So we weren't allowed to go. That's why we didn't go in.
He's protecting us.
Yes. They were making sure we adhered to our rules.
Oh, that's very interesting. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
And that's why he said it's a privately owned restaurant that we're going to eat at.
Yep.
Jeez, I'm glad we didn't screw that up inadvertently and maybe put ourselves on some list.
Right. So it was interesting. There was stuff, and it's we couldn't have just done a lot of stuff where in most other countries we would have been allowed to.
Yeah. I mean, it was a very, not to get political, but it was a very careful tour that didn't touch on the government and politics at all.
Correct.
I don't think
at all.
Che Guevara's name was named at all.
No.
Fidel Castro was briefly mentioned as being the president at the time.
I think we drove past a
There
museum.
was a picture of Fidel Castro and Ernest Hemingway, and that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
And so the whole thing was very...
It was very Hemingway focused.
Politics absent. And it's that clearly a poor country, and clearly a lot of it we know is because the government is so fucked up.
And because we have a stupid embargo against them. They could have a fucked up government and not be as poor if we didn't have an embargo against them.
Yeah, it takes two to tango, though. I mean, they could have a normal economy and they could probably be fine, right? I mean, they're making a virtue out of it. They have the 1930s cars still because, what was it? They weren't allowed to buy a car before 2015.
Made after 1965 or something. That was a state rule. But you sound like you're on the blame their government side. And I am definitely on the America is being dumb and making this way worse side for people.
I agree with both things. Yes,
Yeah.
but I think the problems also start at home, right? I'm so affected by the example of East Germany that I know how badly you can screw up a country even when it's resource and people rich, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. Good point. So anyway, we went to, so we walked around, and then our afternoon was sort of eating and drinking focused. So we went to
more and more increasingly drinking focused as it went on.
Bodeguita de Medio, which is I think that's the right way to say it.
Yeah, the bar is really small. There was a restaurant behind it that we didn't go into, but the bar was it's a very short bar, right? There was probably room for 8 people or something.
Yep, famous for their mojitos, which we had there.
Very artistic, presentation, and they had a great salsa band in there.
They did. Really good music.
Like the classic. You think of like, what is it?
The Buena Vista Social Club.
Yeah, that's that style and that quality.
They were all the musicians that we heard, and they were all the places that they brought us like as tourists. They were all outstanding.
Yeah,
everybody
that's
was
right.
Very talented. And then we went to a restaurant and had traditional lunch. I mean, I was vegetarian, so I didn't have traditional.
And we had
lunch,
a great view of the bay and across the bay into at the fort. And there's a giant Jesus statue. Who knew? There, that's not as big as Rio, but big. Yep.
And then we went to La Floridita bar and had absolutely the best daiquiri that I've ever had in my life.
Same.
It's interesting because, like, in the U.S., there's like if you go to Applebee's and order a daiquiri, right, and you get a slushy, like a strawberry slushy.
They don't say it's the best one that in America. Though.
No, but I'm just saying it's like the classic American vision of a daiquiri is a frozen slushy drink.
Yes.
But if you make like the classic daiquiri recipe, it's not. It's like a mixed drink.
Right.
With lime and sugar, like, you'd shake it, lime and sugar and rum. But this was blended.
This was a slushy.
Yeah. But
it tasted
like served
really
in a
good.
cocktail glass, and it kind of sort of separated. So it was just past crushed ice towards slushy, but not like when you'd get here that like really is like a slushy.
It was like
was
the warm end of slushy, like when it's almost liquid again, but very cold. It was
but like designed to be like that, so it wasn't like diluted.
Yep. That's right.
It was diluted the right amount by it being like that. Oh man, it was so good.
I think I had 2. No, I had some.
No,
yours.
because at lunch they brought us like a dessert. So they brought us, we all had sort of, they got 6 items to pick from the menu, and we had our stuff. And then they're like, for dessert, there's like ice cream, and we got like 2 little scoops of vanilla ice cream. And then they brought us like glasses of 7-year-old Havana Club rum. Man, was that stuff good.
You can't get Havana Club. They don't export it, right? You can't get it here.
Yeah, you can't get it here. It was so good. And you guys, like, sweet liquor, like not sweet, but like aged rum or like a cognac or like an amaretto with ice cream, like, is seriously one of my favorite things. And it was like very incredible to have it there.
It was a very smooth rum.
They brought 5 glasses out for the 4 of us and our tour guide, but our tour guide was working, so not drinking. So Ingo had his. So you had two of those at lunch.
I offered it to everyone else.
And a Cuba Libre at lunch.
No one acted as quickly as I did, and I took it.
Yep. I don't think anybody minded.
I did have a Cuba Libre, which tasted good too. They got that weird, more sugary Coke.
Yeah. So yeah,
it's not weird. And they don't have Coca-Cola. They have a cola.
Yes.
They have what did the guy say? We have
our version of your Coca-Cola.
Yes. And so sad.
7-Up and whatever.
So sad. I remember East Germany had their version of Levi's jeans, and they were so sad, so square.
So you had the mojito, though granted it's like half the size of a cocktail that we would order. You had the rum and Coke, the Cuba Libre, and the 2 rums at
Shots.
lunch, and then the
daiquiri.
I was like the soberest one. I forgot to eat breakfast, and so I was like a little shaky by the time it was lunchtime. I forgot to bring a granola bar, and so I had like half my mojito. You had the other half because I'm like, I cannot drink a drink on an empty stomach.
No,
like
it's
this.
true. I was like drinking half empty ones that other people left too.
No, were you?
I was garbage mouthing. No, I don't think so. I mean, it's possible, but I don't think so.
So anyway, yeah, and then we did that, and we went out to the National Hotel, which is a copy of the Breakers Hotel. And
I mean, an admitted copy of the Breakers Hotel.
The tour guide, as we were driving out, he's like, so this hotel is a copy of the Breakers Hotel in Palm Beach. Have any of you been there? He has not been there. He's never left Cuba. And I was like, I have been to the Breakers Hotel. I did a speaking event there once and stayed there. And it's just amazing hotel.
It's in Palm Beach.
It's in Palm Beach, right on the water. It's actually like, half a mile from Mar-a-Lago. And when Flagler was building the railroad, so can I do a quick Florida history diversion?
Oh, please do. Please do. Do your thing.
Fucking empty. I mean, like, of course, there were like lots of Native American tribes here, but the rest of America had not really moved down into Florida.
Yeah.
And Flagler, Mr. Flagler, was like, people would probably like to go on vacation there.
It's warm.
I think there's something there in Florida, and I'm going to make a ton of money by making Florida happen. And everybody's like, stop trying to make Florida happen. It's not going to happen. And he's like, no, I'm going to do it. And
He's
they're like,
fetch.
How are you going to do it?
Florida's so fetch.
It's exactly what he did. And he's like, I'm going to build a railroad all the way down Florida. And he did. And so he just started like up in St. Augustine or whatever and built a railroad all the way down the
and
East
he got
Coast
to Miami.
Florida.
Did he stop? No, he did not stop. He went all the way to the Keys.
He's like, let's build some fucking bridges, bitches. And those bridges are still standing today. And they were the overseas railroad that went all the way to Key West. And eventually there was a hurricane and it killed a whole bunch of people. And we talked about that on Mysteries
But
in
if there
Paradise.
hadn't been that hurricane, we might still have a train down to Key West.
And then there'd be no roads.
Well, we probably have both.
The roads now are often on where the bridge was.
Anyway, Flagler was making...
Flagler's like, I'm going to make Florida. They were going to name Miami like Flagler City. And he's like, no, please name it after the people who live here already.
I know.
So he gets like half of, I mean, he was a
robber baron as much as anyone else.
Sure, but
It was in the day when robber barons made libraries too.
But anyway, so the Breakers Hotel in Palm Beach was a railroad stop on Flagler's Railroad, and Flagler built the hotel.
Yeah, let me excursion.
Please.
They had a lot of these railroad resorts.
Yes.
Homestead, Virginia is one.
Oh, that's interesting. I
The
didn't know
Green
that.
Bar may or may not be one, but it's like these in the middle, what is now in the middle of nowhere. You have these awesome resorts that someone once called landlocked cruise ships because they kind of cater to everything. But they were stops on railroads, and they were meant to induce people to take the rail. You know, it's kind of like before you flew somewhere, you could take the railroad to somewhere and go to this great place that you wouldn't have to leave because everything was provided there.
This is very much what the Breakers is in Palm Beach, and it's right on the beach. I stayed there. I did a talk for AAA, like the car service place. Yeah. And they have these conferences, and they have a little guide, right? And they give hotel ratings. So they give the 5 Diamond Awards. That's AAA. And so they only have their events at 5 Diamond establishments. And so it was at the Breakers. Oh man, it was, and I checked in. I was just there for the one night.
It's right on the beach, right?
It's on the water. And they're like, well, we're going to upgrade you. Like, we've got a suite and you're only here for one night. So they upgraded me. It is probably the nicest hotel room I've stayed in. I mean, absolutely tied for the top.
Like it had a balcony and
it was 2 rooms.
Idyllic. I just saw the video.
Oh my God. Like the bedroom, I mean, it was just like immaculately decorated, like not too bougie, which those hotels sometimes go. But then it was like the whole wall had these giant windows and all you could see was ocean. Because I'm like 10 stories up, and it just looks straight out over the water, and you hear the waves crashing in, and like you'd walk out the back of the hotel and there's these like fancy gardens and then the beach. It was so beautiful. And I have since then, it's probably been like 8 years since I did that, and I've been like, Ingo, someday we got to go up there, like go up to Palm Beach and just like stay at this hotel. It's so nice and very Palm Beach. And so our guide was like, we're going to go to the National Hotel, and it's a copy of the Breakers in Palm Beach. And I was like, yeah, I've been there. And he's like, well, you'll be able to tell me, is it actually a copy of the Breakers? And I was like, man, like, I hope I don't disappoint this guy, because I haven't been there in a while, and like, am I really going to remember? And we pulled up, and it was just like as though I were transported there.
You said even from the driveway on in, it was all the same.
Just identical. And the Breakers, like you go into the lobby and it's got like these old school like desks with kind of like if you ever had to cash a check at an old bank, right? And they got like the wooden frames
like
around the teller things.
Yeah.
They still have those at the Breakers, and they're still here at this place. And
I mean, it fits in well in Havana, which has a very sort of 1950s vibe in a lot of ways.
Yeah. No, it really is just like it, and it was beautiful, and we had some Cuban coffees there.
That's right.
And walked around, and they got a little museum. And so, yeah, it was definitely, like you say, a superficial taste of Havana. I think it was plenty of Cuba for me. It is a way that I would like to see a lot of places.
In half a day.
Like it was the right amount of time. I was ready to be done when we were done. I was also very tired.
It's hard work to be a tourist.
Yeah. But it was like the touristy thing, probably the most touristy thing we've done. Like when we go places, we don't do tours like this. But it was good for this, because I wouldn't have known where the hell to go or what to do or how to get around, what trouble I could get myself into.
Yeah, and it's very, the panhandling is firm but not aggressive.
Yeah.
But they definitely all take a shot. They're
Yeah.
all just like, can I take your picture? Can you give me some money? Can I
Yeah.
cut your hair? Can I make a, drawing? Do you want to buy this hat? Whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or just give me some money. I'm hungry.
Yep. So it was good. You also can do this if you want. Like, it's not cheap, but it's not super expensive. I think it was $1,000 a person.
That includes lunch and all the drinks.
Yeah, lunch, drinks, flights, everything.
Yeah.
For a day trip, and they go out of Key West, and they go, I think, basically every day.
Yeah, and they're under one of the legal purposes to go to Cuba.
Support for the Cuban people.
Yeah, there's educational reasons. You can go for support for the Cuban people. There may be some other, a few other,
Yeah. But yeah, you can do it. Key West Air or Air Key West or whatever.
They don't stamp your passport. They know what's going on.
Yep. Yeah, our customs coming back, there is not immigration at Key West Airport, even though it is Key West International Airport. There were just like 2 immigration people who met us at the plane and
they
took our picture.
wanded the plane to make sure there weren't drugs or something.
Yeah.
It was weird.
I don't know.
It was a very small plane.
Yeah, it was tiny. They just took our picture and then we went about our business.
Yeah.
That was it. Easiest immigration.
Yeah, luckily they didn't. We were a little worried. I was a little worried.
Yeah. Too bad we couldn't have brought some rum back, though.
No rum, no cigars. Like,
no. Them's the rules.
Those would be the funnest,
yep,
bestest things.
Apparently, she was telling one of the guys, like, you are allowed to bring back trinkets and stuff, but we didn't buy anything.
Yeah,
there.
I mean, they had T-shirts, some, I guess. We didn't really look. Or it's a lot of hats.
Yeah.
Hats with Cuban flag. I don't know. It just didn't seem a thing.
But yeah, if you want to go to Cuba before Trump maybe says we're not allowed to go to Cuba anymore, would highly recommend.
Yeah, Air Key West flies there, isn't it? Is that what they're called? Air Key West?
Yeah, I got to look up if it's Air Key West. AirKeyWest.com. They have Havana day trips. You can just book it online, like you'd book a restaurant reservation. You just pick a day, and they tell you if it's available. You pay online, and they'll send you an email and be like, please send us a picture of your passport so we can get you a visa. And then you just show up at the airport.
Yeah.
And
what was it, an hour flight in that little propeller plane?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. As you said, it's 90 miles, and we're probably going 90 miles an hour.
We were actually... we got up to like 150 knots, Jen.
They do sometimes take bigger groups. Like ours was small, and so they
do have a bigger airplane.
Yeah, they've got one that I think holds 9 or 11 people or
Still
something.
Still not a jet though, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know. Air Key West also will do charter flights. So if you're like in Orlando, you can, and it's like not super expensive. I want to say if you want to charter an Air Key West charter one way from Orlando to Key West, I think it's like $2,000. But it holds like 9 people or 11 people. So all of a sudden it's getting close to like commercial or airfare, and it's pet friendly. So if you got a group who's a little spendy, I mean, flying to Key West commercially, if you get a $200 ticket, like that's a fine deal. It's expensive to fly anywhere to Key West. So
that's right.
If you got a group, Air Key West, charter a little plane down. Fly into Orlando for like $29 on Southwest.
You can probably drink on the plane. I'm pretty sure they'll let you bring your own.
Yep. That's right. And then, so fly for $29 on Southwest to Orlando. Charter a plane with your friends to Key West, and it'll be like $200 a person. And then your big item would be going to Havana for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Spend a day in Key West. Go home. That's a fun weekend.
It's more adventure than, going to Orlando to Disney World.
It took me a while to convince your dad to come with me on this trip because I was aiming for this in like a year ago, and you didn't want to go, and so I think I told you at this point, I'm like, I'm going to go by myself, and you're like, I'll come.
I'm super paranoid about like immigration consequences. One of our friends said he had problems with his global entry, either application or status, because he went to Cuba for like on a commercial trip, I think.
Yeah.
From somewhere else, not Florida. And whether that's all true or not, but it was enough to plant a seed of paranoia in my head.
And I was like, fuck it, I'm going. And I'm glad we did. Even though I was very tired. Like I had gotten up at like 3 or 4 in the morning the last couple of days for other stuff.
Dogs.
Dogs.
For dogs, not other stuff, like not Cuba stuff, non-Cuba things. Definitely.
I had a different flight to catch one day.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I was flying back in the middle of the week, flying back to the Keys, and I took a connection. So I flew into Miami and then was connecting a Miami to Key West flight because there wasn't a direct flight to where I was.
This was dumb.
So and I rarely do this because usually if I have to go to Miami, I'm like, I will just drive from Miami.
God.
And so I got up at 3 a.m. and I caught this flight and I landed in Miami at 9. And then it was a 10 o'clock flight to Key West. So I had an hour layover, perfectly fine. And then I would get to Key West at 11. So we get on the plane and we're like a little bit delayed, like 15 minutes delayed. Because they had to like switch aircraft for us.
Yeah, the actual flight time to Key West is less than an hour.
Oh, it's like 20 minutes or something.
Yeah.
You get up and then the light comes on that says we've begun our descent. It's very short. And so we take off, probably 10:15 and we're coming in to land and it's just about 11 or 11:15. And I'm looking out the window and it's like you leave the mainland and then you just fly along the Keys and I'm looking at the Keys. I know where we are and can identify them from the air. And I'm like, there's Key West. And then it's like, ding. And the pilot comes on. He's like, I've got some bad news, folks. The airport is closed because the Blue Angels are practicing. And it's not going to be open for at least another hour, but we don't have another hour's worth of fuel. So we're trying to figure it out, but we're probably going to go back to Miami. And we did a couple circles and then we went back to Miami.
It's ridiculous. There's an air show, today? And so they were practicing. I'm like, it's not a surprise that they were practicing.
Did nobody know that Key West Airport was closed when we left Miami half an hour ago?
Yeah, it does seem scary that they're just sending planes out to
sure
closed airports.
It'll be
closed
fine.
Airports.
Oh my God. So then we got back to Miami and they were like, we're trying to figure out, like, are we just going to refuel and head back to Key West? And I was like, there's no way that's going to happen. I was in row 1. And the lady next to me also lived in the Keys. And then the lady, like, across the aisle and one back also lived in the Keys. And so they had opened the door, but they weren't sure if they were going to let us off because they're like, if we're just refueling and turning around, we're not going to, deplane and then replane. And so they're talking about it and they're like, eventually, we're there for like 15 minutes and eventually it's like, okay, it may be an hour. We may deplane, redo the checks and go. And I was like, if we deplane.
And then didn't they say, we got to do a crew change?
They were debating about the crew change. But there was this talk, maybe it'll be an hour. And then they're like, we may have to do a crew change. And I was like, if we're not just going to close that door and turn around, I'd like to get off the plane. And she's like, you can get off the plane, but then you can't go to Key West. And I'm like, as far as you all are concerned, I'm not going to Key West. I'm not going with you. Like, if we're not going right away, I want off this plane because I know. And the lady next to me is like, absolutely. And the other one is like, yes, I also. Like, everybody from the Keys is like, oh, yeah, no, we're getting off this plane if you're not going to Key West.
We're not staying overnight in Miami.
And
folks.
The lady next to me took an Uber. Like down to Ramrod, like a $250 Uber. She was trying to get me to split it with her, and I was like, no, I can't. And that was mostly because I'm like, I can't. Like she was super nice, but I was like, I got to make some work calls, and like I cannot socialize for this 3-hour drive. And so I rented a car and drove, and I got here an hour before the plane did. At least an hour. So I sat there. I rented the car, like took the little tram to the rental car center, went out, like got myself something to eat. At this point, it's like 2 in the afternoon.
Stopped at McDonald's.
Went to McDonald's, drove, like stopped and used the bathroom somewhere. Got some more Diet Coke someplace. Got home. It was still an hour before the flight got in.
And you would have been sitting miserably at Miami Airport the whole time.
Uncertainty. I would have been sitting, in the flagship lounge, not in misery.
Maybe, though, not if they kept like adding 30 minutes to the departure.
No,
right?
and they did. That's right.
That's the maddening thing. They never tell you, it's going to be another 4 hours. Then you could be like, all right, I'll deal with that. No, it's like, just hang out and we'll keep updating everyone who's hanging out.
And it was one of those gates that's like always at the end. It's D60 in Miami, but every airport has one of these.
Name the highest number at that airport. That's the one for Key West.
It was like gate 35X at DCA for a while. Everybody's got one.
It was X. They made it worse by calling it X.
and it's where like the little planes are. So it's like it's like, oh, D60, but then there's like D60A through Q. And then it's just like the door you walk out of to like get to the plane.
Like they don't even warrant a number. They just have letters.
Yeah.
They're like, we're not going to call this 35, 36, 37. We'll just add A.
Yeah. So it's always this cramped little space with way too many people. And they're boarding like 10 flights at the same time.
That's right.
And
It's so stressful.
So I'm glad I didn't do that. So anyway, I was very tired.
That's the day before the Cuba trip.
The day before the Cuba trip, and then we had to get up in the 5s for the Cuba trip. But anyway, it was good and it was interesting. I got some photos over on my photo account, Jagged Photo on Instagram.
It was a beautiful day. It's a beautiful city.
It really is a beautiful city.
It is has all these different eras of architecture and stuff. There's a lot of great buildings. But strangely, a lot of the buildings they're under renovation, he kept saying. They're being renovated.
They're kind of falling down.
I think they're dead.
Yeah.
There was no evidence of renovation in half of them. They were just closed.
Yep.
Renovated.
Hey, it's a poor place.
Renovated, yes.
So there you go. There was our little adventure.
Yeah.
And we had our local dog sitter come in, and she took all the dogs swimming in the middle of the day and hung out with them for an hour, and everybody seemed to have a great time. They were no worse for wear when we got home.
Oh, they didn't miss us at all.
Nope.
They're like, good time. No, you guys, you taking us swimming too?
Screw you.
Well, dog sitter took us swimming. Yeah. No, they seemed none the worse for wear.
So there you go.
There you go. And that brings us back to daiquiris.
The cocktail
the
of the
Hemingway daiquiri.
No, the regular daiquiri is our cocktail of the week.
Yes, don't get a Hemingway daiquiri like I do.
Never get one.
I have certain drinks where I'm like, Jen, remind me that I don't like it because I love
did that.
The concept of this drink.
You were going to order a Hemingway daiquiri at La Floridita, and I was like, do not.
I love the concept of some drinks, but I know that I don't like them, but I forget that. And then you're like, no, don't. I'm your better angel of your nature. I'm going to tell you not to.
You don't like that drink.
Like I used to have a thing in DC about smashes.
The Farmer Smash.
It was a terrible drink. It was the same thing where it was like not sweet enough for me. Yeah. I must have ordered it like 3 times, and I was like, Jen, remind me that I don't like it because I apparently love the description from the menu.
Yep.
And I love the concept.
You ordered it once, and I was like, hang on, no, don't give him that drink. Yes. You don't like that drink, Ingo.
Yes.
You must get another drink. And you were like, oh. I was like, you've had it like 4 times, and you don't like it.
Has anyone watched the movie Memento? I'm a little bit like that with stuff. Meals and drinks.
Speaking of which, it's time for Administrative Corner and Brainworm Update.
Woo, I love one of the 2 things. Administrative Corner.
Got a Brainworm Update?
I'm getting increasingly stupid, but I'm not sure it's related to the brainworm thing.
Yeah, that's probably true.
I'm just getting more and more distracted. I call the dogs by each other's name all the time.
We have too many dogs.
They're just one blonde puppy to me.
Yeah.
And their name is Feta. So yes, I mean frequent Snap viewers can attest to this. That especially at mealtime, I'm often cycling through names. I feel like a grandpa. What's your name again? Okay, Jillian, Jennifer, Ariel, whatever your name is.
Yep.
So, yeah. But I don't think that's brainworm related. But maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe I got a dumb worm. I'd like to have a smart worm up there.
It's time for dog updates. Other than them having a little adventure in the yard.
No, wait. What was Administrative Corner?
That's it. I don't have anything except brainworm.
It was just and brainworm?
That's it. Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry.
Well.
We talked a lot about Cuba. We could put that under Administrative Corner.
I'm fine with this, but brainworm can't like turn into Administrative Corner because I have conflicted feelings.
Too bad.
Oh, life is complicated.
Stop eating raw pork.
Life is complicated. I'll commit to you that I will not eat raw pork while in America.
All right, well, that's a start.
Yeah.
Do you have any dog updates besides your dog's local dog sitter came?
We're still trying to adjust Remy's stuff.
Ooh, Remy had a little insulin crash. Not terrible. Well, I don't know if we've talked. He had a proper insulin crash, I don't know, a week-ish ago.
I don't think we've talked about it.
I don't think we have. It must have been since we potted last.
This is white gums.
Yeah, I tried to take him out after dinner, and he was kind of stumbling around, and you could tell that he couldn't quite see, and his gums looked pale, and I took his blood sugar, and it was like 34. So that's really bad. Like, it's not supposed to get below 80.
0 is dead.
0 is, I mean...
You can't... Your heart needs sugar to pump.
Yeah.
What is it? There's something bad. Really bad.
Everything stops working if you don't have that. You could be dead before 0. 34 is dangerous bad. And so I gave him a whole bunch of honey and some bread, and then we got it back up. And so we're like, did he accidentally get too much insulin? Like, let's see. And then yesterday he was looking a little pale. He seemed clinically okay, like he wasn't stumbling around or anything. But I was like, you don't look quite the way you should. And this, I guess after we got back, and it was 78 or something, like a little low.
Yeah.
So we have been trying to increase his insulin, and then now we've apparently increased it a little too much, but then it was like 600 today with one measure.
Oh, the poor guy. It's just his bod is not reliable.
It's also like not an instant response, so like you can get insulin and then it can be like 12 hours later.
Yeah, he has a weird metabolism for the
it just
insulin.
Takes a while, so we're still working on it, but Rim. He's a complicated man.
But he does get to play these days. If I hold everyone else tightly with my arms, Ella will play with Remy.
Yeah.
If anyone else is around, they'll start getting involved and then mess it all up, and then Remy is left alone again, barking into the void.
Yeah, sad.
But he was happy today. This morning they played. Mostly Ella was running big circles around him, but he thought that was pretty fun.
I think he likes that a lot.
Well, he seemed to be happy. Yeah.
All right. So that's it for dog updates. It's time for Taste of the Keys.
All right. Bring it on.
We got a proper news story for this one.
Ooh. Beep, 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 beep. That's the wire.
Former Key West firefighter arrested with guns, bomb-making materials, and diagrams of city infrastructure.
This is what we were hinting at last time.
A traffic stop in Key West on March 14th led to the arrest of Vincent Vega, who people my age will know was the name of John Travolta's character in Pulp Fiction.
This can't be named. He's not old enough. He's not young enough to be named after Vince.
He's 39, so he is not young enough to be named after the character. That's just his name.
It's a coincidence that they're both Vince Vega?
Vic Vega, 39. Vincent Vega, 39, who was found with a significant cache of firearms, ammunition, and bomb-making materials.
That's bad. Bomb-making materials really puts it over the top.
At about 2:30 p.m., Key West police stopped Vega in the 3800 block of Flagler Avenue, named after Flagler, the train guy we talked about before, for driving 69 in a 30.
That's ridiculous. Everyone there drives about 38 because there's a lot of cops on that street.
How do you go 69 anywhere in Key West?
I mean, there's bikes, there's tourists, there's chickens, there's people's dogs wandering. I mean, you can't. It's real. You're in a bad mindset if you're going 69 anywhere in Key West.
There's also a lot of stoplights.
You're also not going anywhere. The thing's like 3 miles long.
Where does it go?
You go 69 or you go 25, it's going to save you 35 seconds.
That's right. During the stop, officers saw a loaded, short-barreled AR-15 rifle in plain view inside Vega's vehicle. The rifle with a 7.5-inch barrel is classified as a federally regulated firearm requiring proper registration. Vega admitted to modifying the weapon and did not. Shut the fuck up, Friday, Vic. Admitted to modifying the weapon and did not possess the necessary tax stamp for legal ownership.
This is so interesting that a Key West City police officer would know the federal firearm regulations about the length of the permissible stock barrel that you can have without a license in the state of Florida, and it's not illegal.
You sound suspicious, Ingo.
I think it's great that the cop figured this had a really bad vibe, and the guy had confessed to stuff and did the right thing. I don't know that, again, I think it's great. He clearly was doing something wrong.
69 and
30.
And
he was caught. Yeah, yep. Well, but also with the gun, right? I mean, this is all, I think this is good police work. Good job, dude.
Additionally, Vega showed signs of alcohol consumption. A family member told police that Vega owned a significant number of firearms. He was arrested for possession of an unregistered, short-barreled rifle and open carrying of a firearm.
Yeah.
Due to concerns for public safety, patrol officers pursued a risk protection order, RPO, to prevent Vega from possessing firearms. Following the issuance of the RPO, detectives with KWPD's Criminal Investigations Division obtained a search warrant for Vega's residence at, I'm not going to say his residence, but it's in here. The warrant, approved by a judge, sought to locate firearms, ammunition, and related materials. During the search, officers discovered some 20 firearms, pistols, and rifles.
That's just Florida.
10,000 rounds of ammunition.
That's more than Florida.
A PVC pipe bomb with a red fuse.
There it is.
Multiple electronic storage devices, Faraday bags, and external hard drives. Well, I got that, you guys. I got all of those.
Not the bomb.
No, but I do have multiple electronic storage devices, Faraday bags, and external hard drives.
You have Faraday bags?
Yes. I brought it when I went to Ukraine.
In case you get struck by lightning, the inside won't get zapped.
It was more like when I was near the front where the Russians could get my cell phone signal, they wouldn't be able to track my phone to see my movements.
Can you put it over your whole body?
You can make one that big. Mine was like cell phone size, though.
I've told you about the Faraday cage experiment demonstration that I used to watch as a kid. Every time we went to Munich, my uncle, who's a chemist, but he likes science in general, would take us to the Museum of Science in Munich. And they have a high voltage demonstration where a guy sits inside a Faraday's cage and gets zapped by lightning.
Oh.
And holds his hands on the inside of the cage and just proves that there's no current on the inside.
Wow. It's
very dramatic because it's a huge arc flame.
Yeah.
Huge loud bang. Like, as a kid, it's scary as heck. And then he's just in there and like holding his hands on it and doesn't get zapped.
Wow.
Almost no frying of him at all.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that's what I think of when I think of Faraday's cage, is like, it conducts lightning around the outside of the cage.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, I just put my cell phone in it, but I have also been in Fort Meade in the NSA building, and that whole building is a Faraday cage. You're not allowed to bring your cell phone in anyway, but if you did, it wouldn't work.
That's good.
Yeah. Okay, so he has the stuff I have.
back to Vince Vega. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Vinny.
An explosive investigation guidebook, which I may also have. Chemical materials and tools consistent with manufacturing explosives, which I don't know what those chemicals are, so I don't know if I have them.
Yeah.
Depends on how explosive.
Could be vinegar and soap.
I was going to say vinegar and baking soda. Got that.
Yep.
That'll blow up something.
We don't have
balloon.
diesel. We got just gas.
Oh, yeah.
In our car.
Due to the presence of a potential explosive device, the Monroe County Sheriff's Office bomb squad was called to the scene. You guys, the bomb squad for the sheriff's office parks at the airport, like at the arrival,
it's always plugged
departures.
in because it's electric.
Yeah, so like when you go to like drop somebody off at the tiny little airport, the bomb squad vehicle's always up there because that's where it parks.
Van.
Yes,
the bomb squad van.
Yep. All homes within a 300-foot radius were evacuated for precaution. Further investigation revealed additional items consistent with explosive manufacturing, including potassium chlorate, aluminum shavings, and detailed diagrams of Key West's wastewater and stormwater pump stations.
This is bad news. These guys did a good job. I'm impressed with the police getting the warrant quickly, talking to the family quickly. I mean, they did a good job. Kudos to the Key West police. They did an excellent job.
On March 17th, agents from the ATF assisted with the investigation and determined that the materials seized could be readily assembled into a destructive device, meeting the legal definition of an explosive bomb under federal law.
Wow.
Based on the investigation, Vega has been charged with possession of a destructive device, illegal possession of a short-barreled rifle, and open carrying of a firearm. He remains at the Monroe County Detention Center on a $1.7 million bond.
For anyone from other states, I mean, I used to live in Virginia.
Yeah.
Where open carry is allowed.
Yep.
So people would strap on their holsters and go to the IHOP.
Mm-hmm.
That's allowed. You need a license to have a concealed weapon. Florida is now the opposite. You can conceal all the weapons you want on your body, but you're not allowed to open carry. And I don't understand the difference, but there you go. But so in Florida, if you're carrying a weapon openly, you are in trouble, but you can hide it, and it's okay.
Yep.
So that's weird, but that's what he got busted for, having an open weapon.
I actually think it's like anybody who open carries is doing it to threaten other people.
I know Virginia thinks they're like the Wild West, where it's like, well, if you show that you're armed, then you're obviously a good guy.
Yeah.
Good guy.
Yeah. So there you go. That is the Taste of the Keys for this week.
It's very exciting. I'm curious to see if he was acting alone or if he was talking to other
part
people.
Of a cell.
Yeah.
It's time for German word of the week.
Oh, yeah. Muntermacher. Did I talk about that one yet?
Something maker.
Yes.
What is it?
Munter is alert or awake or excited, happy. So it's often like used euphemistically for a drink that, like, you know, makes you happy for a party, but also could be a cup of coffee.
Oh.
Muntermacher.
Muntermacher.
Hmm?
Alertness maker.
Yeah.
Cool.
Wow.
It's time for Ingo Corner, where you say whatever you want and I won't tell you it's boring.
I don't have anything. Thanks
Good.
for listening.
Oh.
Thanks for supporting. You guys are all great, and glad we're doing this podcast together on the couch instead of in different locales.
Don't worry, I'm gonna leave again soon.
I was not worried. Now I am worried about you leaving soon again.
That's okay. I don't think I'm going anywhere dangerous.
I like having you on the couch. Did you not listen?
I know. I do too.
All right, fine. Leave immediate. If you're not going to listen to my nice things I say to you.
Head into a war zone and go. See you later.
Oh my goodness. Wait, it's DC. Shut up.
Thanks everyone for listening. And until next time, Slava Ukraini, and don't bite anyone unless they ask you to.
Don't worry, she's not going to war zone.
Not yet.
Duh.
Bye.
Bye.